Please join me in giving a warm CPCU Society welcome to Dr. Davis, who's here to help us release our limits, realize our dreams, and live beyond what if.
3, 2, 1, come on.
Oh, I'm gonna live my life.
I put that on everything.
Oh, nothing can stop my shine.
Oh, I'm gonna live my dream.
Hello, CPCU. How awesome is it to be here? And can I first say thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for focusing on how important it is to go to the next level and to reach new heights. And thank you so much for allowing me to talk about something that I think is so key and critical. And Tracy's already hit on a number of them, and some of the stories that were told by Yusuf and Tim. And even I am so pleased to have Melt Shelton as well, too. Thank you for all that you do. And can I tell you how important you were to me in the midst of Milton and Helene? Because I live in Tampa Bay and Treasure Island, right off of Gulf Boulevard. So I'm grateful to be here. This is a wonderful distraction. Let me say congratulations also to all of you today for all of the great work you've done and how you've invested in yourself to just go to the next level. I'm going to talk to you about how to get beyond your what ifs and how to continue, if you're not already, living your best life. I wrote about it because I've lived it, I've gone through it and got to it, and there is a journey on the other side, and I'm going to share some of that with you today. How many of you would say today, I've got some unfinished dreams, I've got some big dreams that I'm still waiting on? Yes, yes, yes. All of us should have some of those dreams, right? But I love to ask the question too, is if you could live your life all over again, would you do it differently? Would there be some things that you might do differently? If you say yes, it's because you still are not at the place where you can say, I am living my best life. You know what, for me, because I realize that we live life every day and things happen, we don't have control over everything that happens, but when we learn how to shift our mindset, regardless of what happens, we can shift and change the environment in which we're in to make things better, to look at things differently. Look, here's the reality. We are living right now in the era of disruption. So much happening. Not only just the global pandemic that we're still reeling from, still shifting in our workplaces and still dealing with mentally and emotionally, as well as dealing with it even in our workplaces. But we have a lot going on, right? Political shifts, economic shifts, geopolitical challenges, social challenges. And as we look at how the workforce continues to change, right, lots of disruption there. How many of you would also agree that if we don't innovate, we die? That's not only in our products and our services. That includes us too. We also have to innovate or reinvent ourselves. And if we don't, we become obsolete. We become irrelevant. And things just happen, pass us on by. And by the time we look up, it's too late. So it's important for us to recognize that at the core of all of this, we have to continue to remain flexible. I heard the word resilient, and we've got to be agile in everything that we do. And at the core of all of that is leadership. Leadership in the workplaces. How do we lead when we're working on projects and initiatives? How do we lead in life? How do we show up every day as your most authentic and unapologetic self? I love it. So it's so important for us to take that leadership role. I am a big believer that we all have a role as leaders. Whether you are leading people or leading a team, or whether you're leading projects, programs, and initiatives, whether you're at the receptionist desk or whether you're in the CEO suite or on the board, we all lead from different seats. But as we talk about this era of disruption and all of the change that happens, we have to make sure that change is not just happening to me. Right? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I realized that in this VUCA world, and how many of us can say we are familiar with this VUCA world? A world of volatility and uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity, constantly shifting, always having to deal with accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and increased competition. A world where it's an increased level of stress, depression, and anxiety than ever before, according to the American Institute for Stress. That nearly 60% of us identify that we're having greater levels of stress than ever before. And yes, it's not only at home, it's not only personal stress, but guess what? We bring it to work. And we have to be able to deal with some of the mental, emotional, and psychological effects of change. Let's realize change is inevitable. Change is going to happen. How many of you love change? You know, not many hands go up. I've realized that really only wet babies like change, right? But we have to be change agents and change ambassadors, because here's the reality. Change is inevitable, but misery and even defeat and failure, those are optional. Those are what we decide and how we continue to shift and change in our own lives. But I can tell you that we have so much change happening. Emotional change, but also financial change. Our economy is changing. The workplace is changing. How many of you are still working somewhat remote or working in a hybrid workspace, right? That's changing. It's changing on what the needs are in our workplaces. The disruptions that we're experiencing demographically, where we've got more and more women in the workplace than ever before. We are working differently. Our schedules are different. We have different needs and expectations. And oh, by the way, we've got a multi-generational workforce where not 4, not 5, but now 6 generational cohorts. The alphas are here, those that were born between 2010 and now. So I'm talking about the realities of how much the world continues to shift. Yes, a global society, that means you have global clients. You have people from different walks of life, different cultures, different personality styles, different communication styles, different ways of thinking, different ways and needs that they have, and how they even view the products and the services that we offer in the insurance business. But it can leave us asking a lot of those what if questions. I don't know about you, but I went through a lot of ups and downs and challenges and setbacks in my career, in my life, and personal, in my relationships, and my finances, right? And I learned how to bounce back. But before I did that, I was asking myself a lot of what if questions, because I internalized a lot of that change. I internalized sometimes even the negative naysayers that I had in my life. I internalized some of the failures that I had in my life, and I was like, what if? I'm scared to reach new heights. I'm scared to go to the next level because I might fail. I might look stupid. I remember working in corporate America for nearly 30 years of my career. I worked in financial services. I worked in banking. Most of my career has been in human resources. So I worked in every area, including, I was telling Lori, we're pretty much in a lot of the same business in that we were providing health care benefits. And I worked in total compensation. I also worked in employee relations and leadership training and development, worked in labor relations and all of the areas. And recognizing that through all of that shift and change, there were times where I failed. There are times where I missed the mark. There are times where I felt like I wasn't seen. I felt overlooked, undervalued. I felt like I was getting the work done, getting the results, but not getting noticed, not being appreciated. How many of you ever felt like that? Not at your current company, but, just in case, you're sitting right beside your supervisor, just wink at me, right? I get it. But here's the reality, too. When we talk about going through some of these shifts and changes in our mindset, it really is about adopting a growth mindset. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the meantime, it can cause you to ask and second guess yourself about your power and your potential and your purpose. What if I fail? What if I get rejected because I didn't get all those other jobs? I'm afraid to ask for a promotion or afraid to ask for more money, even though I'm doing the work of 2 jobs. And the way you know that, two positions, and the way you know that is when you leave, then they put out 3 postings for 3 separate positions, right? But what if I'm not qualified? Not because I'm not, but because I've been told that I wasn't good enough. Or I didn't feel like I had a seat at the table. I didn't feel like my voice mattered or my opinions and my ideas were heard or taken seriously. What if I don't have enough education? What if I look stupid? What if? What are your what ifs? And what are the what ifs that continue to get in your way of the dreams that you have, the goals that you set for yourself? So many people have parked on the side of the road of life, so many people have paused and said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I keep failing. I keep getting rejected. I keep feeling less than my value and my worth. I'm just not going to try. But let me give you a couple of strategies because I have been there. I understand it. And look, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, the hat, and wrote the book. So I'm going to share with you a couple of strategies on how do we start getting beyond our what ifs, which can be very paralyzing, which can also really impact our mindset and cause us to play small in life. Well, if you're going to reach new heights, you can't play small. You can't shrink. You can't be ashamed of who you are. As we heard Tracy say, every single one of us has unique gifts, skills, and talents that nobody else has. You have been born and created with magnificence and greatness on the inside of you. And there are things that you have. Those strengths, gifts, and talents are for a generation of people, clients, customers, friends, families, and anyone that you touch, anyone that you come in connection with. And so you would be doing a disservice to the world not to show up with your greatness. And so let me share with you a couple of them. Recognizing the first thing is that life just happens, right? And we have to recognize that there are setbacks in life. How many of you have ever had a setback in life, right? How many of you have ever had disappointments in life? How many of you have ever failed in life? Thank you for your honesty, because that is what they call lifing now. That's the young generation calls it lifing, or either adulting. Either way, you're going to face some challenges, you're going to face some setbacks, and you're going to face some disappointments, and we have to keep looking forward. I believe that there are three kinds of people in this world. Three kinds of people in this room. Those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wonder, what happened? Which one are you? And look, can I congratulate those of you who continue to take your life to the next level, to continue to invest in yourself, your education, and your knowledge, because you are making things happen. But there's too many people that are not making things happen, and they're watching and wondering, what happened? And here's the reality. They're doing it because they don't always have clarity of purpose, understanding their compelling why. And that is the driver of our passion, and it is the driver of everything that we do. How many of you know what your purpose is in life? How many of you are clear on your compelling why? Do you know I ask that question all over the world? I ask it of senior leaders. I work with corporations of all sizes, all sectors, and all industries. And not all the hands go up. As a matter of fact, nearly 90% of the hands don't even raise. And I find that so many people are just going through life and just letting it take them wherever it will, but not living in intention and not living with purpose. And so many of them are part of the 90%. So I wrote the book, Living Beyond What If. The foreword was by Les Brown, who is my mentor, friend, and has been my speech coach for nearly 22 years. And I'm grateful for that divine appointment and that timing of when we met, because it was at a time where I was getting in my head and I could not get out of my way. It was at a time when I was the 90%, that I wasn't clear on what my why was. And he saw something in me that I hadn't seen in myself. He saw some untapped potential and began to invest in me until I was able to see it myself. But can you believe that only 10% most of the time raise their hand and say, I'm clear about what my why is? So if we want to reach new heights and go to new levels in our lives, and we want to get beyond our what ifs, we have to be clear about what it is that we were called and purposed to do. I believe that there are two important dates in our lives. And those dates are what? Yeah, the day you were born and the day you die is too late. But it is the day that you understand your why. That's when you begin to live a life of purpose and a life where you understand your greatness, and you wake up every day excited because you understand what it is that you're called and gifted to do. And every day is an opportunity to meet destiny. And that is to give something to the world, to give something to someone so that they are better than the way you found them. Here's the reality, too, of getting beyond your what ifs is don't be some of those people that I say most people die at age 30 and don't get buried until age 85. What? Buried at 85, but you died at age 30? What? So you're going 55 years and not really clear about what your purpose is and not living with intentionality and not being your most authentic self. Because when you are your most authentic self, you're also understanding what greatness is on the inside of you. And so what I tell people, if you want to understand what your big why is start at the end. Think about what you want people to say when they celebrate your life or when you get promoted to the next life. What do you want people to say you stood for? What did you do? What impact that you made? And then you want to start back over. And I think it's important too, because what I don't want you to have is you think about your celebration of life and they go and they give tribute to you, and then they, you know how they go to the grave site and everybody's kind of looking at the headstone and all of that. And this is what they see. Herein lies someone that coulda, woulda, shoulda, but they never did. Do you know any of those people? One day, I'm going to do this. One day, I'm going to do that. And before you know it, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years have gone by. And then you get to an age or stage where, again, you're like, well, what if I'm too old? Or what if I can't do it anymore? What if I don't have the skills and the experience anymore? So it's important for us to start with the end in mind. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people, to understand that, yes, we have something that's on the inside of us. There's a reason why you weren't born in the 1800s, the 1600s, or 200 BC. You were born in the 1900s, right? Most of you born in the 1900s. And then we got a few of you, right? Where's my Gen Zs and my Alpha? Some are born in the 1900s, right? And even 2000. So understanding that we have to really uncover all of the gifts and talents and begin to be our best selves. Now, it's not about, setting New Year's resolutions. I know now we've got, less than 60 days left for this year of 2024, a year we will never see again, even a day we will never see again. And it's not about setting New Year's resolutions, because what research tells us is by February the 14th, about 60 to 70% of them have been broken. And then by April the 15th, the other 85 have been broken, right? Because it comes on New Year's Day and we're setting all these wonderful, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goal. I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days. Haven't lost 20 pounds in 30 years, right? I'm going to go walk 10 miles a day. Haven't walked 10 miles over the last year. So we have to set realistic goals. What's most important is when you understand your why, and you kind of think about the end of your life and how you want to celebrate it, what you want people to say, you really should have a life plan, right? And a life plan really is looking at the end, writing that chapter, and then backing up and saying, okay, now let me begin to write my own story. Many of you were sharing your stories even over the last couple of days, and I heard a few of them today. But every day, we are writing our story. And so we have to think about what is our life plan, and we want to be successful in every area of our lives. So as I set my life plan, I stopped doing New Year's resolutions about 20 years ago when I understood what my real purpose and my compelling why was. And I realized I want to be successful in every area of my life. And so my life planning is about, what do you want? What do you see as your dreams and your goals for your family, for your relationships, for your marriage, right? And what is it for your health and wellness? What are you going to do better every year that you're going to continue to invest in and ensure? Because, as we get older, things start to hurt a little bit more. Things start to fall off a little bit more, right? And you don't recover as quickly. But what's the health plan? About eating healthier, right? Doing more exercise, practicing yoga, meditation, whatever it is, we want to continue to be our best selves, and that's investing in our health. And it's all of these other areas, your career, your financial situation, as well as your spiritual or your values, your belief systems, the things that really drive you. Because when we have a life plan and we set our goals to be successful in every area of our life, so that we are not a public success and a private failure. And part of that is looking at, again, recognizing that when we are clear about our life plan and our goals and our purpose in life, research, psychologists tell us that we are happier, we're more creative, we're better problem solvers. We come up with different and more and better ideas. We solve those problems. We're productive, we're happier, and yes, we are healthier and even more impactful. This is what we want to be. And so as we think about reaching those new heights and living beyond what if and living our best life, we have to consider, what does success look like to me? Not only at work, but do you think about what does success look like for me in my personal life, in my financial life, in my spiritual life, in my relationships and with my family? And it may just be looking at it from a short-term perspective, but also looking at it from a long-term perspective, right? It's also about reassessing. There are some goals that I had set out that I had to redefine, right? Success looked very different for me 20 and 30 years ago. Because success to me 30 years ago was, I wanted to have the nicest car. I wanted to have the nicest home. I also wanted to have the nicest designer clothes. And I wanted to be better than the ones that I was comparing myself to all the time. Going out spending a whole bunch of money that I didn't have to impress people that I didn't even like. How many of you done that before, right? And get into a series of debts, right, where it's not necessarily fulfilling and it's certainly not sustainable. So we always have to be thinking about what's new, what's different, and what's next. What can I learn from my previous years? Do you know what success looks like for me today in my 50s? Yeah, I'm in my 50s. I know I look 30, right? Yeah, I'm in my 50s, but the definition of success has changed for me. So now it's all about being at peace. It's all about being happy. It's about having joy. It's about good health, yes, and it's about leaving a legacy. It's about being around family and loved ones. It's not even about caring so much about what people think anymore. We used to think a lot about that and care a lot about that. But no, we have to think about, too, how do we continue to shift our mindsets, our skill sets, the approaches and the practices, and what ways can we continue to be better every year, every day, every minute? Because I believe that every day you can get 1% better. And I also believe, too, that as we think about what's new and what's next, we have to always align our goals with our purpose. That helps. We got to stay in alignment, right? I know life happens, but when things come around, sometimes that means redefining what success means because it's out of alignment now. Les Brown, who's, as I mentioned, my mentor, used to always say to me, he said, people fail in life not because they aim too high and hit, but because they aim too low and hit. Not because they aim so high and miss, but because they aim so low and hit. Wow. What? Aim so low and hit. Having goals that are so low because we shrink, because our sense of self-worth and our sense of value is at a lower level. But when we talk about reaching new heights, it's all about aiming really high, even if you miss, instead of aiming low and hitting. So we always want to be going, to the next level. And that means thinking big, that means dreaming big, and not playing life small. Another part of getting beyond our what ifs and making sure that we are living our best life, it comes down to the people in our lives, our relationships. Right? We may have to reevaluate our relationships, making sure that they are mutually beneficial, that they're respectful, that they're honoring, that they are positive, that we have a mutual understanding. But at the same time, recognizing that not everybody in your life is meant to be there forever. I've had to make some adjustments in my life, particularly during the pandemic when I had the opportunity now to do more introspection, and I had to go through some evaluation, and it's like, okay, here's what I want to do with my life next. As I think about my life plan, here's some things that I kind of started to stall on, things that I had kind of paused, dreams that I had. And I was like, I'm not going to allow people to stop me from dreaming. So just like butter, milk, cheese, and bread, I believe that sometimes relationships have an expiration date too. So I ask you to think about who are the people in your life, those who I would consider the closest ones in my life. What are they saying to you? How are they making you feel? Can you share with them your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goal? And if you do, can they celebrate that? Can they encourage you? Do they push you? Do they say, you go, girl, or you got that, I see it? Instead of the, oh, God, you think you can really do that? Oh, God, I know where you came from. Oh, God, girl, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. But how many of you know that relationships are the new currency? And what I mean by that is you are really only going to make between $10,000 to $15,000 of those that are in your inner circle. And look, if you are the smartest one in your circle is too small. Your network can determine your net worth, right? Get around the right kind of people. When I decided that I wanted to move in certain careers or move to certain jobs, or when I launched my own global consulting business 10 years ago and left corporate America, it was really scary. It was scary because I had that paycheck that was steady every 2 weeks. I could count on it. I had the benefits, right? The insurances, everything was taken care of and paid for. And then I was a single mom at the time, and I had to take care of my daughter, make sure she got from high school into college. And so it was really scary to think about investing in myself and opening up a brand new job where the research tells us that in the first 1 to 3 years, what happens? Most of them fail. But what I did, though, was I got around people who had already done the same kind of work, who had already been successful, who were not afraid to share with me what they learned, what mistakes not to make, gave me resources, and helped me to be successful from day one. And even today, 90 to 95% of my business comes from referrals and live events like this, just meeting people. So relationships are the new currency because they actually, not only are they mutually beneficial, but they help me to save time, money, effort, and energy. Leveraging my network. There are so many times where I'll just reach out to my network and say, hey, do you know somebody here? So going through all of this with Helene and Milton over these last couple of weeks, the first thing I did was, okay, who knows a roof repairer? Right? Who knows someone that can come and cut down some of these trees? And I did that because we all want to do business with those who we know, like, and trust. Being in human resources, we hire who we know, like, and trust. Being a manager or a supervisor, we oftentimes promote and pay more those who we know, like, and trust. So relationships are key and critical. And I also believe in having a board of directors, a personal board of directors. Those people in my life that will advise me, they'll give me feedback and input, but also they will hold me accountable. They are invested in my success. All of us should have that. And we also want to live beyond our what ifs. We got to conquer some of our fears. I don't know about you, but I had a lot of fears in my life. I had a lot of fear of just stepping out and taking chances and fears of taking risks. I had fears of the dentist. I had fears of deep water. I just had all these fears. But do you know that we're only born with 2 fears? The fear of falling and the fear of a loud sound. So all the other fears and the what ifs are learned. And they're things that can be unlearned. So I encourage you to think about what are your fears. I had a lot of them. And what I would do is write down all of the fears that I had. And then on the middle of the column, I would write down what would happen if this fear did come to pass. And in the third column, what would I do about it? When I did that, I took the power away from the fears. And it allowed me then to start taking some risks. And then I was okay with failure because my biggest fear was failing. So what? Do you know that every successful person I've ever met failed? They had some failures. So I knew I grew up. I don't know about you. How many of you grew up hearing failure is not an option? Failure is not an option. I would say that to the pilot on the plane that I'm getting ready to go on. I would say that to somebody who I'm getting ready to go up and do some bungee jumping. Failure is not an option here. But in life, failure is an option. And I love what John Maxwell says in The Leader's Shift, is his latest book, is that we got to learn how to fail fast and fail forward. Because in life, we will fail. Failure is I think, it's feedback. Failure is feedback. It helps us to understand what didn't work and what we can do differently and what we can do better. So I encourage you, embrace failure, but quickly. Do it fast, learn from it, leverage the leftovers, the losses, and the lessons. And then keep on moving. The other thing for me, in order to really start living my best life, is I started taking some risks. This is one of the things, too, that my mentors and my coaches used to say all the time. Shirley, get out of your head so you can step into your greatness. You got to jump and grow your wings on the way down. He used to say, you got all this education. I got an undergraduate degree. I got 2 master's degrees. I have a PhD, and I got 10 certifications. And I was still scared. Scared that I was going to fail. Scared I wasn't good enough. And he finally just put his foot in my back and pushed me, not physically, but he kept encouraging me. And it took me like 5 years to really, really take that chance. Look, I just learned how to swim last summer. Can somebody be happy about that? Let me tell you why I was deathly afraid of swimming in deep water. It's because when I was 13, I was playing softball. We had won the championship, and we were celebrating at someone's house who had a pool in the backyard. And I didn't know how to swim, and no one knew I didn't know how to swim, and so you know what happened. Someone pushed me in the pool 10 feet, and I literally saw my life flash before me, and it left me traumatized. And so I was paralyzed for years. And I just learned, because I have a home now that has a pool, it's like, you know what, I probably should learn how to use this pool back here. And so I finally did learn how to do it. And golly, when I did, it was like, that's all? What? I just need to learn how to float and hold my breath? That's it? But how many fears do you have that have made it from a mountain to a molehill? Things that you have talked yourself in when it really is not even something that's going to manifest. It's not as bad as it was. I was deathly afraid of dentists because one time I had to have a root canal, and there was a part of the tooth that he was trying to get to, and for an hour, he kept drilling and pulling, and I just feel somebody just doing like this, right? And pulling, and then he said, we're not going to be able to get to this today. I'm going to have to refer you to a specialist. So after I held my hands down, right, for me, going to the dentist then became traumatizing. And what I realized that it really wasn't the experience itself, it was that dentist. Because I found then a great dentist. I went to the little small, the ones with the children. I found one that does with kids. Give me a lollipop and I'm gonna be okay. And give me specific details and walk me through it. But I found a wonderful dentist and absolutely love it. So I'm not fearful anymore. I jumped and I absolutely learned how to do things. I moved to to Tampa Bay. We're in Orlando now. I moved to Tampa Bay, had never been to Tampa in my life. But I moved there because I said, you know what, now that I'm open my own business, I can do that from anywhere. And where's my happy place? Where do I want to be? And I had a few criteria. One of them was I need to be by the ocean. And oh, by the way, I wanted to be on the Gulf of Mexico. And I needed an international airport and all of that. And then I just wanted to get out of the hustle and the bustle of Washington, D.C. I had been there for 30 years. So I jumped and grew my wings on the way down and moved down here. Can I tell you that sometimes when you take a risk, sometimes you'll get confirmation that you made the right decision. Moved to Tampa, had never been there before in my life. I came one summer of 2015, and I met a real estate agent that just kind of took me around. When I moved here 3 months later, because I found the home that I wanted, and I leased it and said, oh God, this is perfect, I want to move. Moved here, and here's how destiny met the opportunity when I jumped. I was out walking one day, right out of my driveway, and across the street, one of my neighbors had seen my car just be delivered from Maryland. My neighbor says, hi, and he introduced his name. My name is Eric, and introduced himself. And I'm telling you, no kidding. He says, hey, I see you're from Maryland. He said, so am I. I said, oh, wow. I said, well, what part of Maryland did you live in? Oh, I lived right off of Central Avenue in Bowie, Maryland. Wow, so did I. And then I said, well, where did you go to high school? He said, I went to Friendly High School. I said, so did I. I mean, we kept going on and on until finally I said, well, what year did you graduate? Because I have 3 other brothers. And I said, I don't remember you in my class. And he said, well, I graduated class 1988. And I was like, oh, well, then you would have been in the same class as my brother Joe. He said, what's his name? I said, Joe Davis. He grinned, pulled his phone out, and called my brother. And he said, Joe, man, you're not going to believe who I'm standing here talking to. That was for me a confirmation that I had jumped and I did the right thing and I had confirmation. And guess what? He was a retired police officer living right across the street. I felt safe. I felt comfortable. And my brother said, and I traveled like 60 to 70% of the time. And my brother he said, give her the phone. And he gave me the phone and he said, sis, he said, Eric is going to take care of you. Eric is family. His dad used to be my coach. They've been out to the house plenty of times. He said, give him the key to your house and anything you need, he'll take care of you. What? And I didn't know anybody, but I was comforted in knowing. Can I tell you that when you just jump, that on the other side of that will be a confirmation that you did the right thing. And sometimes, you know what? It might not be confirmed and you might have to make a U-turn or a detour, but keep jumping. And most importantly, in all of this, as I close, I want us to make sure that we continue to invest in ourselves. We are our greatest asset. And do you know that 85 to 90% of the things that we say to ourselves about ourselves is negative? So I need us to change our conversation. I need us to think more about how important we are. I need us to invest in ourselves. Yes, the development, the learning classes that you've been talking about. Getting around people, yes, who are like-minded, but also get around people who don't see it the way you see it. And you continue to learn and expand your world. Investing in yourself might mean that it is not only reading and development, but what do you do just to decompress? What do you do to just take care of yourself? How many of you have ever experienced stress? What do you do for stress? Run. Yeah, I'm a power walker. What else? Meditate. Yep, some people may do yoga. What else do you do? Read. Yeah. I love reading. I love catching. I'm a movie buff. I'm an HGTV junkie, and now it's Hallmark Christmas movie time. So that's something I love to do. And it's nice, it's fun, and it's wholesome. It always ends with a happy ending. Those are things I love to do. And most importantly is this, right? I absolutely love to be by the beach. This is literally about 5 minutes down the street from me in Treasure Island. I found my happy place. And that's where I go to meditate. That's where I go to have conversations with myself, and I'll talk about the day. I go and strategize. As a matter of fact, the book I wrote on Living Beyond What If literally was written by the ocean. This is the place I wrote the book. So that's why I put on the front copy, I put it, Living Beyond What If, this is what it looks like. But I truly believe that if we want to get beyond our what ifs, and when we do, when we begin to live our lives as we were designed to do, living our best life, being our most authentic self, having the peace, the joy, and the fulfillment in life, I believe that when we do that, here's what the result is. We ultimately will live life without regrets. I don't want to be that person that dies at age 30 and just waiting to get buried until age 85 or 90. And in my family, I've got aunts that have lived to be 94, 99, 102. I just don't want to live that long and not know what my real why is. I'm on a mission. I'm passionate about what I do. People are like, are you always like that? Yeah, I'm a high energy bunny because I love what I do. I'm excited. You energize me by being here today because I prayed, I meditated, I focused, I'm introspective, and I came here with an assignment to drop some wisdom nuggets, to drop some motivation, to empower you, to inspire you, and to tell you that you can do it and you can reach new heights. When you do that, not only do you live life without regrets, but you also live life on purpose, in purpose, for purpose. Every day you wake up, there is something that you have to do. There's an assignment I believe every one of us has. We also live full and die empty. What? Live full and die empty. When it's my time to be promoted to my reward, and I'm no longer in this life, I don't want to take anything with me. I don't want to leave anything on the table that I did not give and contribute to the world. I don't want to be that person like a friend of mine's had a dream. And in his dream, there was a decorated athlete. And people were coming around to pay tribute to this decorated athlete. You know how we do it with the celebration of life. We all come down and we look at the body and all of that. Well, in this particular dream, this decorated athlete had a baton in his hand. And someone attempted to take the baton out of his hand, and yet it was so tight you couldn't get to it. And what he learned out of that dream was, he said, in life, we have a race to run. We have a talent and a gift that we're supposed to leave behind. We're not supposed to take the baton. We're supposed to pass it along. And I say to you today that we're supposed to live a full life, meaningful life, a life of power, potential, and a life of purpose, so that we can live full and have nothing left on the table, and that when it's our time to go, we're leaving a lasting legacy. And as a result of it, I'm one of those kind of people too. I want people to say that when she was in my presence, I felt better. When I heard her speak, she said something that empowered me, inspired me, changed and transformed the way that I think. When she worked for me, when she worked in our company, I want them to say that I'm that person that made everything, every organization, every client, and every person better than the way that I found them. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And I'm excited about your next level.
I put that on everything.
Nothing can stop my shine.
Oh, I'm gonna live my dreams.
Focus.
So I could make a shift. And I'm grateful 'cause I'm living beyond.